Watchers, welcome to Perth Watch, your horology channel broadcasting from right here in Perth, Western Australia. Today I have a piece from local supporter and friend Jeremy, who's provided this for review. This is a piece from the company called Feice. What a name, right? The company name Feice Original. Now a little bit about this. They were apparently founded in 2009. They decided on, allegedly a Bauhaus style, worked through some innovation, and on their website they say they went to market in 2014 or thereabouts. Now I have some serious issues about the things that they have, detailed in those story bits that they put on your website, but I'll go into that a little bit more in the wrap up. For the time being, let's get on with the review. Flip the camera around and take a closer look at what's in here. Alright guys, so here we have the box on the table. Kind of blue cardboard really is what they've gone for. There's a little bit of flakiness on the covering here, but what do you expect for this type of watch? And check out that logo there, as well as the slogan, record your elegance in every second. Alright, spinability. Not bad actually. I gotta say that's probably a 4 out of 5. Alright, a little bit of friction on the vinyl that I have here. Let's get this open, and there's the watch and a little bit of promotional material. Let you just guys see what this is if you wish. That's just a bit of a thank you note. And then the instruction manual, unfortunately, is generic and nothing specific about this watch. You can see the first designs they came up with, Nomos Lambda ripoff. Okay, instructions there, which I think obviously most of us don't need instructions for a three-hander date, but I wish they would give something that is relevant to the model, at least looks like the model, rather than something generic. It just shows a little bit more attention if they did that. Okay, so just flicking through this, well, you don't need to know that, do you? Water resistant rating, just a bit of a maintenance guide, if you will, and then more pictures. Okay, that's it. And let's just show you what's in here, the tags, and then the few links that I removed. Jeremy has a slightly larger wrist, I think one more link than me. There's 4 links of the watch that has been taken off now. Okay, so here's the watch. Let's show it to you guys in closer detail. So over here we have the Feice FM019 automatic, or you might call this the Royal Oak. The Feice Royal Oak is really what most people would probably call this, because it is pretty much a lifted design, completely copied right down to the dial, the hands, the indices of an Audemars Piguet. In terms of the listed price, this goes for 220 USD on their website, but when I clicked on it, there was a $50 discount available right there and then, so 170 I guess is the realistic acquisition price for this watch. Right, first up, as I always do, let's talk about the movement. The movement in here is not Japanese. They've actually gone for full Chinese, so it is actually the Sea-Gull, and based on the appearances, I'm pretty sure it is a Sea-Gull ST16. If it's not, it's very close to it. I've seen this movement and reviewed this movement in watches before. Stats down the left of screen here. The rated accuracy isn't actually known, but in actual use, this is not bad. It's been regulated to plus 10 seconds per day in the week that I've had it. In terms of the quick set date, it is implemented on a white disc with black writing at the typical 3 o'clock position that you see on screen. Okay, so that's the movement. In terms of the case, we're talking about a 42mm case now. That's what it's advertised as. In actual measurement, 42.3mm using calipers, which is what I've kind of discerned from using precise measurements. In terms of thickness, 11.8mm, so not bad. The bracelet, there's no meaningful lug width to talk about because it's integrated and custom as per Audemars Piguet copy. But I can tell you the widest point of the bracelet here is 26mm, and it tapers all the way down to 18mm at the narrowest portion. Lug to lug distance, okay, I can talk about that. So between my thumbs there at the widest point of the case is fairly sizable, 52 millimeters is what that measures. Overall weight, as you may expect with a steel bracelet watch, is somewhat substantial. 162 grams is what this weighs on the wrist. So about the same as my 2012 Amiga Seamaster. That's about that weight there. All right, let's talk about finishing. Right, longitudinal brushing on the top surface of that bezel. It does have a polish bevel. Again, these kind of steps are all kind of copies of the AP. Longitudinal brushing on the top surface of the case there, and horizontal brushing on the side with a small polish bevel. Hopefully you can see that polish bevel there between the top and sides of the case. At the bottom, interestingly, looks like a matte bead blasting there. There's no directional polish that I can discern on the bottom surface of the case, which is an interesting thing. The case back itself is a circular brush, right? So you can see that screw secured, not screw down, but secured by those 8 screws display case back. And then talking about the crown, you have a kind of sign crown, so that with the Feice logo there, this hexagonal crown, which is actually screw-in, right? That's actually a screw-in crown, but they have gone for a water rating for only 30 meters, meaning that you're not supposed to swim with this watch ostensibly. Right, so that's the case here. Let's talk about the dial now, which, as I mentioned earlier, very much lifted from the Royal Oak or certain variations of the Royal Oak. This is what they call tapestry or clou de Paris. Some people call this kind of square pattern here. It's got printed details, right, in this muted blue colored dial. So printed details for the company name as well as the chaptering around the periphery, but applied polished steel indices in all 12 positions, including a double indice for the 12 o'clock position. The hands are polished paddle style hands, I'm going to call that. Again, exactly the same as some of the Royal Oak designs. It's got a simple stick for the seconds hand, and in terms of loom, it's present on the main hand, so the hour and minute, not the second hand, and the 12 indice positions here. And of course, loom shot for you to see how it glows in the dark. It doesn't really glow all the way through the night. It glows sufficiently for a few hours after it is fully charged. Okay, so around the dial is this octagonal bezel, which is supposed to be evoking a porthole. That's the original AP design, the Gerald Genter design, I believe. That's kind of where that inspiration comes from. Fixed, of course, it's not rotating, and it's got those polished decorative screws, right, which are in fixed positions here. They're not going to be turning screws. And then on top of the dial is a flat sapphire crystal, and that does have, I think, some anti-reflective treatment. I did test it to make sure, because I'm just really not sure about how honest this company is. It is actually sapphire when I tested it with the diamond tester. Okay, let's move on to the bracelet then. So the bracelet is, of course, this AP style stainless steel 3-piece per link, right? Or it's got this big piece with 2 links adjoining each link here, right? Longitudinal brushing. It's got those integrated ends, so we're not talking about end links here, but it's got the integrated bracelet connection here. The adjustment, however, I got to show you, hopefully you can see that it's actually screw adjustment. They've actually managed to put in screw adjustment rather than just push pins. As I mentioned earlier, 26 millimeter at the widest point, tapering to just under 18 millimeters at the narrowest point. And then it's got this push button release butterfly deployment, right, which you've seen before. Okay, so there you go, guys. That's the entire description of this watch. Just gonna snap it on the wrist now for a wrist shot for you guys. And there we go, the Feice watches, Feice original or not so original Royal Oak on my 17 centimeter wrist. So most of the dimensions are fine, 42 there, under 12 millimeters in thickness, but at 52 millimeter lug to lug, that may be a little bit large for some, and hopefully at this angle you can appreciate it probably overhangs my wrist and has a bit of space there, which is more than desirable. Okay, that's how it looks like on my 17 centimeter wrist. Okay, so that's the description. What have I enjoyed about this? Well, look, of course, it's good looking. Right, it's got that absolutely stolen good looks from AP. It's executed just well enough to look fine at a glance. If people are looking at this from across the desk, it's fine. But if you look closer, I think some of the details do come out that it's not really as fine as it looks. The dial, I would say, is fairly decently done. There's definitely a three-dimensionality to the clou de Paris there. So that's probably the best part of the watch, I reckon. And it's good to see that they managed to put in screw links rather than just push pins at this price point. What are the weaknesses? Well, honestly, I think there are quite a few to mention. Again, stolen good looks. So if you don't like homage pieces, then definitely this is not the piece for you. This is a complete one-to-one copy, apart from slapping their own brand name on the dial there. The finishing is actually pretty shocking, right? I mean, I'm not sure if you've managed to notice any of it on the camera. I mean, some of that scratches is of course from use, but the finishing is actually quite rough, and I can tell you, the inner edges here and the case and on the bracelet as well, the inner edges where these small links connect are actually fairly rough. They're actually almost sharp, and too sharp. It's not supposed to be like that. So definitely a step back, subpar finishing, I reckon. There are a lot of watches around this price point which are going to be finished a lot better than this has been. It's got the looks, as I mentioned, but it's got none of the intrinsic capabilities of the watch which it homages. It's got a very basic movement. It's regulated okay, but it's just got a Sea-Gull movement. They haven't even gone for a Japanese movement, and it's got no real water resistant at 30 meters. You can't even really confidently take this swimming. I guess at a price you might take a risk, but the advice is that you shouldn't. And then the large lug-to-lug distance, I'm not sure how this is close to the AP or not, but that makes it a little bit less widely appealing. Not everybody can carry that 52 millimeters, particularly as it might sit wide on the wrist, including myself there, as I shown on the wrist shot. There's quite a few weaknesses, but also the price point I will mention. At the 220 to even the discounted price, the 170 mark, there are a lot of other watches that you might consider. San Martin would be a big one who do a lot better finishing and quality. Why would you go for something like this at this price with the weaknesses which I pointed out? I suspect you might not after you find out about this. If you hear this review, certainly I myself wouldn't really go for this piece. So guys, there you go. That's my thoughts on this watch. Let's flip the camera around now for the wrap up. So there you go, guys. My review of the Feice original Royal Oak knockoff or copy, if you will. I think there's some positives in here, but at the price point, I think there are more reasons not to get it rather than to get it. But let me know your thoughts. Now, I mentioned I had some issues about the company in general. Now, if you look back at the story, they talked about settling on the Bauhaus design, and then you see a picture which is really a knockoff of a Nomos Lambda, right? That's I suppose maybe the first model that they put out. And then the next one, they go on about innovation, and they talk about a dome sapphire crystal being the unique or signature point of the company, yet the watch that I've reviewed had a flat crystal. And then the name Feice Original. In the first point of their story, they talked about wanting to fly the flag for China. They talk about wanting to make Chinese horology something respected. Well, guys, if you're listening to me, the company, if you want to make Chinese horology respected, you don't go and put original in your name and then put out copied designs, right? That's not the way to do it. You don't go on about a Bauhaus design and how you might have thought about it and then put out a knockoff design of a Nomos Lambda. And you don't talk about innovation and talk about dome sapphire as if nobody has done it. And then you put out watches which have flat sapphire crystal. That is just not the way to do it. If you are truly serious about wanting Chinese horology to be lifted to get more respect, well, this is not the way to do it. right? In fact, this has probably pushed the respect a couple of steps back, you know, and I'm pretty sure I'm not alone in feeling that. Whether the company will listen to me, I think depends on how much profit they are making. If they're making profit, well, who cares, right? Who cares what somebody like me thinks? So guys, there you go, my thoughts on this watch. Please let me know what you think, whether you agree with some of these thoughts or you have a different view, you know, let me know. Guys, if you enjoy my videos, do consider subscribing. New content every week, always aiming to be objective and unbiased about all things horology. Thank you again for sticking with me, and as always, I'll catch you guys again next time.